You're about to get a very honest assessment of the Brother Skitch PP1 Embroidery machine 3 months in. Welcome to the Sewing Report. I'm Jen. This channel is all about making sewing fun and approachable. Y'all know I've had this machine for a few months and I wanted to do an update on what I think. I've been getting a lot of questions about it. I know there's a lot of buzz, good, bad, everything in between. So I'm going to share all of my thoughts. This is going to be a long one, so buckle up on this machine and my experience with it and the app, the Artspira app, show you all my samples, and really get honest with you. This is not a sponsored video, and I did purchase this myself. There are some affiliate links, but the company Brother has no input in this video at all. I paid for this with my own money, as I've shared with you here on the channel. I've done a number of different projects with it, and I definitely have some thoughts. And before we really dive into things, I do have a couple housekeeping announcements. First of all, here on the channel, I do not make any type of sewing machine recommendations. I get asked all the time, and I'm not comfortable making a determination, like saying, should you buy this? Yes, no. I don't like to operate in those black and white terms. I don't think they're particularly helpful, especially if I don't really know you personally. And also for liability reasons, I just am not comfortable with making specific recommendations like, yeah, if you're looking for a beginner sewing machine, this is the one you buy. I don't do that here. That's just not the way I roll. What I really aim to do is arm you with the information to make that decision for yourself. No one else can make it for you, nor should they. So I like to share my experiences, show you different things about the machines, but at the end of the day, you're the one that has to make that decision. And if you do have something you want to ask or let me know about this, please, I'm asking you kindly, avoid emailing or direct messaging me anywhere on these platforms. If you have something to say, the preferred avenues are leave a comment on this video. That helps me, that helps the entire community. I also have an opportunity. I've been doing live streams on Sunday nights on Sewing Report Live. If you haven't subscribed to that channel, go ahead and do so. And I give everyone the opportunity to ask me anything they want in real time so you can get answers. That's really the appropriate place to do it, but I've been getting people DMing, emailing, or like using Etsy messages, which is not what that platform is for at all. So I will let you know right now, if you do reach out in those ways, you won't get a response. I'm sorry, I'm just not able to handle that type of correspondence. So the best ways to get in touch with me are leaving comments on YouTube videos or joining in on the live streams over on Sewing Report Live. Okay, so Brother announced this machine in fall of 2023. So a few months ago, I saw this and I immediately was kind of intrigued by the Skitch. I don't really like the name. I think they could have come up with something better. I feel like Skitch sounds like some sort of like bug or pest or something like that. I know they're trying to marry the words like sketch and stitch, but I don't know, I'm just not feeling it. I think the name's kind of weird. And if it was me coming up with the product and doing the launch, I probably would have called it something else. But this is the Brother Skitch PP1 Embroidery machine. This is a single needle embroidery machine, so it's meant for home use. And I saw it first, I was like, this thing looks like a coffee maker. Definitely kind of looks like a Keurig or something like that. It's not your typical standard white, which I thought was kind of nice, a little different. Simplified design. It does embroidery up to 4 by 4 inches. So this is a 4 by 4 inch magnetic hoop. The hoop is, I measured it and it's like 5 or 6 inches if you kind of measure it on the outside. But this is kind of innovative and I really liked it. I have a Brother PE 800 and I have a Brother PE 900. I've been doing machine embroidery for about 4 years, something like that. I started out with the Brother PE 800. That one has a slightly bigger hoop size, 5 by 7. I do wish this was a 5 by 7 inch hoop. I think that would have been a better size. In my opinion, I do think 4 by 4 inches is fairly limiting. And again, you can do small things, but you know, yeah, I don't know. It's just maybe go big or go home. I don't know. I do like the hoop though. That's actually one of my favorite aspects of the Skitch. And they do also sell an optional 3 by 3 inch that I'm thinking about picking up to try to do smaller items, so we'll see. But the hoop just comes apart like this, super easy. It's much better than the regular standard embroidery hoops with like the turn screw. This is just easier, and I find when I'm doing embroidery projects, it saves me a lot of time, and I just find I'm able to hoop items a lot easier. I'm not having to, you know, and also because it's magnetic, it doesn't really leave hoop marks like a traditional embroidery hoop. So I'm a fan of that. I'm also really loving the free arm on this machine. Most embroidery machines are much bigger, like they've got this like module on it that's just huge. Even this one, embroidery machines are pretty bulky, so you do need a lot of space for them. They're very heavy. Even this one, I thought this one was going to be like smaller or lighter weight than it is. This is fairly heavy. A couple things about the, just kind of doing a quick walk around. It has a top loading bobbin. It would have been nice if this was kind of like a front loading bobbin or like a side loading bobbin, so that, because if you do have to change the bobbin thread, you have to take out the hoop. So that would have been a nice feature. This does have a fairly entry level price. For an embroidery machine, this is cheap. The functions on the machine are like very basic though. So it only comes with 1 foot, which again is fine. That's really all you need. I do think, again, it would have been really cool to have the bobbin. Have you be able to change out the bobbin thread without taking out the hoop? Sometimes that's pretty difficult, especially if you have a large or bulky item already in the hoop. So the free arm makes it so that you can do certain items easier. So this is a beanie I'm planning to embroider. And if I hoop this, I'm hoping to be able to kind of hoop this like this. And then here, I'll kind of show you right now what I would do. All right, if I'm doing this for real, I would have to like, so this is how it would look. I would have to turn this inside out for it to really be how I want here. But what I would do is I would hoop it like this. So you would kind of hoop it like this. Obviously, I would need some stabilizer in here. This is super crooked. But then you could put it in the machine, and then the free arm makes it so that you could slide the free arm in between the sides of the hat and be able to do a hat. So I'm excited to try items like this where having a free arm will actually make it doable. If this was on a traditional machine, you'd have to like really try to like stretch this up. I'm also excited to try a baby onesie. I have a few that I'm planning to make. So the free arm will certainly make a lot of items easier. Now, something about the hoop that I noticed that was really annoying, honestly. So brother, if you're watching this, and I know brother has seen some of the videos because they did email me. I don't think they liked the videos, but that's okay. And that's why this is not sponsored, and I paid for this myself so that I could talk about whatever I wanted to. This hoop does not have center marks on it or any sort of markings on it, and I thought that was kind of ridiculous because a big part of hooping all of the items when you embroider is having it be centered horizontally and vertically. So I had to actually figure out what the center point was myself on the hoop, and then I actually used some leather paint to mark out the center points, because this thing, you're really not going to get anything straight on it or even if you don't have center points to reference. So I don't really know why they didn't put markings or center points, and like there's no markings on this whatsoever, like no measurements. And I thought that was very strange for an embroidery machine hoop because that's really important. So it is pretty easy to get into the machine and get out of the machine. All right, let me try to, okay. So the onboard functions, there are a few buttons, like there's a tension dial, and then there's like a on-off switch. There is like an accept button, there's needle up, down, and then thread cutter. But you may notice on the machine, there's really no onboard functionality. So usually on an embroidery machine, there's like a touch screen with menus, and you can use that to navigate your design, do everything on here. And most embroidery machines come with a USB slot. Now a USB slot's basically like portable storage. So normally when I'm using my other machines, I will load the embroidery designs. Those are all computer files. Brother takes .pes. Every sewing machine manufacturer has their own embroidery file type. So Brothers is .pes. Normally I will put those designs, take them from the computer, load them onto the USB drive or stick, and then I will stick the USB drive into the slot on the machine. This one does not have a USB slot or any onboard functions because Brother wants you to use their proprietary app called Artspira. So you have to, this machine runs only on the app, and you need to have a phone or computer to do that, a smartphone or like a tablet, like an iPad. It is available on Android and Apple, and I did download the app, so I do have it. I'm gonna actually start screen recording so that I can show you guys some stuff. All right, I've loaded up the Artspira app, and I really think Brothers' play here is that they want everybody to use this silly app. Why? I think it would have been cool if the app was optional or an added feature, but the fact that this machine only runs on an app drives me crazy. I think that's by far the biggest negative of this embroidery machine is the fact that Brother is forcing you to use the Artspira app. I think the app is not very good. I've played around with it. I did get you do get like a 2-month free trial to Artspira Plus. Yes, there's a paid version. And that's what got a lot of you guys fired up because I felt like Brother's marketing when the product launch was a little bit deceptive and they weren't making it very clear that in order to use this machine and get all of the needed functions, you really had to pay $12.99 per month to use Artspira Plus. Now, since they have walked back that policy, so good on Brother for that, but I'm a little like distrustful and a little bit weirded out by the fact that Brother tried to do that in the first place. Most of the designs were behind the paywall. You can import your own designs into the machine, but you have to do it via the app. And until I did the videos calling them out, and a lot of you guys started complaining on social media and asking them why they were doing this, the feature to import your own designs and get them into the machine was behind the paywall. So that's how most of us use embroidery machines. The built-in designs in Artspira are really bad. Like, I'm not impressed. It's like 90s clip art. I have not seen really any designs I'm excited about or that I would actually use. I think the app is like not great. I think there could be a lot of improvements, at least to the Cricut design space credit. The designs are actually things I think are cute and would maybe use. But the Brother designs, it's like they just pulled them out of an archive from somewhere and stuck them on this app. I don't really get it. I think the app is pretty terrible. Again, until a lot of us started making some noise about it, you were gonna have to pay $12.99 per month in order to use designs you already own on an embroidery machine you paid for. Make it make sense, Brother, and that really annoyed me. I'm a longtime Brother customer. I own several Brother machines. I own sewing machines, I own embroidery machines, I own 3 of their embroidery machines. I own their serger, I'm a fan. I think they make really decent quality, but also affordable priced sewing machines, sergers, embroidery machines, and I think they're good for entry-level customers. But the fact that a sewing machine company would try to do this and force people to, one, they're forcing people to use the app, and they were really trying to force people to pay for it. That's got me a little bit worried about the future of sewing machines, because they're not the only ones doing it. I saw Singer is making sewing machines tied to an app. Again, if it's an optional or an added feature with the machine, I don't really mind. Would I pay extra for Wi-Fi? No, not really. And that's one thing that the Brother PE900 has. And I think that's kind of like, yeah, I don't really care. It's easiest for me to get designs out of the machine just with the USB stick. I don't really need to do it with the app. I don't really see a point in them doing this except for the fact that they were trying to get us all to pay a monthly subscription to use an embroidery machine that you already bought. That's definitely an L move, Brother. One feature that Brother is really hyping up in the Artspira Plus app is this image to embroider feature. This is behind the paywall, so you have to pay $12.99 a month to use it. So here's the thing, I tried using the image to embroidery feature during the free trial I had of Artspira Plus. I demoed it for you guys in a previous video. I wasn't really impressed with it. It's basically like auto digitizing. So a lot of embroidery software has something called auto digitizing, and this is basically like primitive auto digitizing. A lot of you ask too, can you take a picture? Can you turn it into an embroidery file? Not on like a regular machine, and that's what Brother is trying to offer with this Artspira Plus thing, is I think they're trying to kind of make like a Gen Z friendly auto digitizing tool for people who aren't embroidery digitizing experts, which again, totally fine, but I thought the quality of the auto digitizing image to embroidery feature was like, not very impressive. I certainly wouldn't use it for professional embroidery work, and I actually was lurking on Erich Campbell's live stream. If y'all don't know, Erich Campbell is the person to follow for everything embroidery digitizing. He's literally the expert, and I learned a lot from him. I did a previous episode talking to him. I will link it in the description box and down below in the comments because he is a wealth of knowledge. I learned a lot from our conversation, and he points out that how bad auto digitizing really can be. And I actually asked him during the live stream about Artspira, and he said he thought the app was terrible and he did not like, he's not a fan of the image to embroidery feature. So if you're out there and you're kind of wondering if you should get this to try to start your own small embroidery business, I don't know. I think I certainly wouldn't use the Artspira Plus apps tools to like create all of your designs. The image to embroidery, I think it left a lot to be desired, and you don't really get professional results from it. It's very, like, if you're doing it as a hobby or just to play around, I think it's fine, but I personally wouldn't use this paid feature to try to use it as a substitute for professional digitizing. If you are not a digitizer yourself, again, there are many ways you can actually pay a digitizer to digitize a design. There's a lot of skill and technique that goes into it. The auto thing is just not that great. So I'm not a fan of the Artspira app. I really wish Brother would have made this machine with onboard functions, a USB slot, and not have made the app mandatory just to use the machine. I think it's stupid. I'm not a fan. And that's probably one of my biggest hangups about the Brother Skitch is the fact that it requires the app to run. What if Brother decides someday they don't want to support the app, they got bought up by another company, or they just decide to stop supporting it? There's also the possibility that in the future, Brother could essentially brick the machine. So they could stop supporting any updates. Like, you would have to have like a, kind of like how Apple has done with iPhones. At a certain point, if your phone is very old, they just don't support that model in the updated version of their software. And essentially your phone or your sewing machine could be rendered useless if the company decides it wants to. So that's what I don't like, is that Brother has more control over me using this machine than I am personally comfortable with. So I think that's a big caveat, and that's probably one of the biggest negatives I'd have for recommending or not recommending this machine. I'm just trying to give you the information, but I think that's a very large concern in my opinion. So that's my thoughts on the Brother Artspira app. I am not paying for Artspira Plus. No way in hell. I canceled my subscription, so I'm now only using the free version, but I am happy that they at least opened up the import file feature in the free version. Hey, thank you at least for that. I like a lot of things about the machine itself. The app thing, really not crazy about it. I've also gotten this question about the quality of the embroidery itself. So far, I haven't had any huge problems with the machine stitching out, but here's the thing. It really depends on the quality of the embroidery design. If you have a good quality embroidery design, like digitized well, and there's a lot to go into that, then that design should stitch out fine on most embroidery machines. But if you have a very poor quality embroidery design, it doesn't matter how high-tech or expensive the embroidery machine is, it's gonna look crappy on any machine. A lot of the quality of your end result depends on the quality of the design, and it's not necessarily the machine. So just something to throw out there. Here's some samples I did. I was able to do a hat pretty easily using a really cool hydro stick stabilizer. I bought a bunch of stabilizers. I'm gonna be testing more of these out. The hat wasn't too bad to do, and I actually did think the magnetic hoop has made a lot of things easier. I am gonna be trying out some more different types of hats, baby onesies, some tote bags, some pouches, just to see how easy it is with this magnetic frame and the free arm. These are definitely the two best features of this machine overall. I've done some samples. So here's the thing. With the import file feature, something went funky when the design was importing into the app because this happened. That's not great. I ended up having to go into my Embrilliance essential software and essentially kind of fix the file. So this is the design after I fixed it, but I shouldn't have had to do this in the first place. So something definitely went funky with the Artspira app and the external file, but I checked and I looked and it's not a problem with the file. So something was going wrong when it was getting into the Artspira app. This was a frustrating moment here. I was having some issues too. I like the magnetic hoop. It did kind of kick out this material. I was doing this polar fleece and this ended up ruining it because it ended up I think I had a thread snag or something. Maybe try to reinsert the bobbin. All right, so we'll do that. Oh, get it. Oh, okay. And the hoop just came apart and my material came out. And because you can never get into the same place again, I ended up having to totally scrap this sample. Yes, this does say Artspira sucks. Oh yeah, oh yeah. And then I also ran into the issue. So the one thing I did find with the machine is that I was getting some upper thread snags with this spool pin. So I ended up having to bring in a thread stand, and that seemed to solve a lot of my problems. So I would recommend a thread stand so that your thread can be vertical instead of horizontal, because I just ran into some issues with this spool holder on the top, and I'm not really a fan. Again, the design stitch out, fine. I mean, this is the one I did with the image to embroidery. Again, the image to embroidery can handle like very, very simple things. Nothing complicated, nothing, nothing with like, this is a very basic shape. I did okay, but when I tried to do more complicated stuff, it just couldn't handle it. This is one of the built-in designs. Yeah, this is like pretty ugly. I would not actually put this on an item I cared about. This is a sample I did with a built-in design behind the paywall. This one was okay, but some of the threads like came loose. I don't know. This doesn't look awesome. So the built-in designs are just, I'm not really into any of them. This is sort of my tester towel. Whenever I want to test stuff out on a towel, I have a few that I just use for test stitch outs. And I would recommend you do test stitch outs on pretty much every project, because you might find out it just doesn't work for the material, or these are just sort of my experimentations. You kind of do need another software on top of Artspira. I am an affiliate for Embrilliance. I did pay for it myself. I am a fan. If you want to do things like fonts or sayings or stuff, and you don't want to pay for Artspira Plus, there is a free version of Embrilliance called Embrilliance Express. You can buy a lot of fonts, or you can find them for free for embroidery designs. So they're called .bx files, and it's like an alphabet. So I've been using that. I do have another video on how I create the sayings and words and stuff like that if you want to do names, monograms. And I purchased a lot of my stuff kind of randomly on Etsy. I did recently go on embroiderydesigns.com and was it Embroidery Library, and I did buy some designs from there, so I'll be testing those out. I might also try to make some patches. But I do find that it is kind of necessary to have another embroidery software on top of Artspira. I think you're going to be very limited if you just use Artspira, even if you use the paid version, because they don't have that many fonts in there and they don't have that many designs you would use. I am very glad that I have Embrilliance Essentials. I did pay for that version just because you can mix fonts and designs and combine them. You can't do that in the free version. The free version, you can only do like text, but in the paid version I think it was like $80 or $100, something like that, but I will link everything below. At least then I can make a lot more changes to the designs, combine elements, do all kinds of stuff, and I really do like that. And by the way, I like that Embrilliance does not do a subscription model. They only do, you pay once and you own it. You don't need the internet or anything crazy in order to use it. So what I've been doing is creating a lot of my stuff there, exporting it as an embroidery file, and then I have to still get it into the Artspira app. So that's kind of what I do. I might do some more videos on just using the software in the future. Let me know if that's something you'd like to see, because I know it's something a lot of people have questions about. That's sort of my overall experience so far, 3 months in with the Brother Skitch PP1 embroidery machine. Am I really sold on it? Not really. Literally, I'm being very honest here. Would I purchase this machine if I did not have a YouTube channel? I don't know. I really do like the free arm, the magnetic hoop. Do not like that it doesn't have onboard functions. Hate the fact that I need to run this on the Artspira app. I cannot express to you how much I dislike that. Oh, and by the way, after I did my initial Brother videos about this, and I was kind of giving people a heads up on the fact that most of the features were behind the Artspira Plus paywall, I got an email from Brother PR, and I decided not to. I didn't write back. It was pretty obvious they were not a fan of the videos and didn't like the fact that they couldn't really control me because they didn't, I paid for this. I'm just a regular customer. I don't do sponsorship stuff with them. And I'm really glad I did purchase this on my own because, I don't know, I just find a lot of the sewing companies really want to control the influencers way too much. I'm not down with that. And I could kind of tell they wanted me to like back off a lot of the content. I didn't write back, brother, hey, no love lost, no hard feelings, but I gotta be 100% on this product because even though it's fairly affordable, this machine still costs a lot of money for most people, and the fact that I felt like they were being a little bit squirrely about the Artspira Plus questions, just didn't sit right with me. So I'm, very glad they have changed some of their policies on that. And I noticed now they're making a big deal about how a lot of the features are free on like the product listings, like on Amazon and Joann's and stuff. You can purchase this in a number of different places. At first, it was just at like Best Buy, Joann's, and then Amazon. I originally placed an order with Best Buy, but they lost it. So I ended up having to get like a refund, and then I physically went to a Joann's, and then I purchased this in person. And I'm glad I did, because I didn't have to wait for it to ship or anything, and they did have a couple in store. Joann's return policy is a little bit tricky with electronics and expensive stuff. I believe it's kind of hard to return things, so just keep that in mind. I think probably Amazon is going to be your best bet as far as getting to return the item if you have any problems with it. So I would probably recommend Amazon for purchasing it if you are interested in it. But again, would I recommend this? I think it really depends on what you're using it for. I would probably sway away from trying to do any like small business. I just don't. This is not, that's the thing, this isn't a commercial machine. This is a domestic machine meant for like the average consumer. I don't think it's meant to do large quantities or a lot of like, you're not going to be able to like mass produce embroidered items with this machine very quickly. It's going to be very slow. Those are just some of my initial thoughts about the Brother Skitch PP1 Embroidery Machine. If you own it, let me know what you think. If you have more questions, leave them down below in the comment section. Or again, you can join me every Sunday night at 7 p.m. on Sewing Report Live if you have specific questions. But I've been getting people being like, hey, can I do this item? Can I do this item? I will say this, if I haven't done a video on that item, I don't know. So there's a lot of stuff I haven't tested out on it. So I really don't know if it would be able to do the item or not. I only know the stuff I've tried out so far. So there's still a lot of testing I need to do with this machine. So for the operations, okay though. I mean, I did have that issue with thread, but I used a thread stand, so just some things to keep in mind. But I hope you found this video helpful. You're also welcome to check out, I have a whole playlist about other embroidery machine videos and stuff with the Brother Skitch, so check those out. Anyways, I'm Jen with the Sewing Report. I'll see you guys again in the next video. And remember, whatever you're doing, make it fun.